The envelope sat on Daniel Hart's kitchen table like a live wire. Rain tapped the window. His daughter Lily slept upstairs, unaware that the paper beneath her father's trembling fingers held the deed to the only home she'd ever known, and a signature that didn't belong to any bank. It belonged to a woman he'd only met 3 weeks ago. A woman who told him her name was Claire. Nothing more. Daniel's hands smelled of sawdust from the workshop downstairs, the workshop that had kept food on the table since his wife died. Now someone had paid off his debt, someone had saved his house, and he had no idea who she really was. The wind rattled the porch light outside. The same porch where 2 nights earlier a black car had idled at 11 p.m., engine humming low, headlights off, watching his house like it was waiting for something. Can you imagine finding out a stranger has been quietly rewriting your life, and you don't even know her last name? Dramatic pause. But what happened next? Nobody expected. Daniel Hart was 38, a carpenter in the small town of Maple Hollow, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your business before you did. He'd raised Lily alone since she was 4, after a car accident took her mother on a road slicked with November ice. He built furniture with his hands and patience with his heart, and he told himself that was enough. It had to be enough. There was no room in his life for anything else. Then came the woman in the gray coat. She'd walked into his workshop on a Tuesday afternoon, asking about a custom bookshelf, speaking with the careful precision of someone used to being obeyed. And yet there was something soft in her eyes when she watched Lily doodle crayon horses on scrapwood in the corner. "You're good with her," Daniel said, sanding down a table leg. "I had a rough childhood," she answered, quieter than he expected. "I notice good fathers." Warm tone. She said her name was Claire. She paid in cash. She left no number. What Daniel didn't know, what nobody in Maple Hollow knew, was that Claire wasn't just visiting. She was Claire Whitmore, CEO of one of the largest architecture and development firms on the East Coast, and Maple Hollow sat directly in the path of a corporate expansion project that could bulldoze half the town, including Daniel's workshop. She hadn't come to fall in love. She'd come to scout it for demolition. Claire returned 4 more times that month. Each visit, she told herself, it was business, assessing property values, understanding the town's resistance to selling. Each visit, she found herself lingering an extra hour in Daniel's workshop, watching him work wood into something beautiful with his bare hands, something her glass-walled offices in the city never taught her how to do. "You always work this late?" she asked one evening, the workshop lit gold by a single hanging bulb. "Someone has to pay for dance lessons," Daniel said, nodding upstairs where Lily's feet thumped against her bedroom floor. Gentle laughed. "She wants to be a ballerina and an astronaut. Haven't decided which one wins." Claire smiled, a real smile, rare and unguarded. That's what happens when a kid has a father who believes she can do anything. That's when he realized the truth was closer than he thought. Not the whole truth, not yet, but a truth about himself. He was falling for a woman he barely knew. Rhetorical question for you watching right now. Can you imagine how it feels to fall for someone while sensing they're hiding something behind every careful smile? The tension broke on a Thursday. Daniel's neighbor Sam burst into the workshop waving a folded newspaper. "Did you see this? Whitmore Development's buying up land near the old mill. Word is they've got someone scouting the whole town." Daniel's stomach dropped. He looked at Claire. Her face went pale. Dramatic pause. "Daniel, I need to explain something." "Explain what?" he said, voice hardening. "That you've been in my workshop around my daughter while working for the company that wants to tear this town apart?" Silence swallowed the room. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled in low, like the sky itself was holding its breath. Claire didn't run. That surprised him more than anything. She stood in the doorway of his workshop, rain soaking through her gray coat, and said the words she'd never said to anyone in the company she'd built from nothing. "I am the CEO of Whitmore Development. I came here to evaluate this land for a project that would level 6 blocks of this town, including your shop and your home. But I didn't tell them what I found here." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What did you find?" "A town that still works with its hands. A father who built a life out of sawdust and stubbornness because he refused to let his daughter grow up without a home." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "I found something I forgot existed. That envelope on his kitchen table, the one from the hook, the one that would appear again in 4 minutes. It started right here, in this rain-soaked doorway, though Daniel wouldn't understand its meaning for weeks. "So what now?" Daniel asked. "You go back to your glass tower and tell them to bulldoze us anyway?" "No," Claire said, meeting his eyes. "Now I fight my own board to save this town, and I don't know if I'll win. Can you imagine standing at that crossroads, risking everything you built, for a place you only just started to call meaningful? Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked at Lily's crayon horses pinned to the workshop wall, then at Claire, soaked and shaking, more honest in that one moment than she'd probably been in years. Then don't lose, he said quietly. Not because of us, because of you. What Daniel didn't know was that the fight inside Whitmore Development was already bigger and older than the Maple Hollow project. Claire's own father had built the company from a single construction crew in the 1980s, and he had done it, in part, by buying out a small town much like this one decades earlier and demolishing a workshop that belonged to a young widower with 2 children. Claire found the old files by accident, buried in a basement archive, the week before she first drove into Maple Hollow. Dramatic pause. The widower's name was in the file. So was his daughter's. That daughter grew up, changed her name, and now ran the finance department of Whitmore Development. Her name was Renee, and she had spent 15 years waiting for a chance to make the company that ruined her childhood pay for it. One way or another, nobody in that room could have predicted what came next. Renee had been the one to greenlight the Maple Hollow scouting project in the first place. Not to build, to destroy quietly from the inside, using Claire as the instrument, knowing that if Claire fell for someone in that town, the scandal alone could topple her position as CEO. Dramatic pause. It wasn't a coincidence Claire met Daniel. It was a trap set in motion before she ever knew his name. I never saw this coming, Claire whispered when she uncovered the truth, staring at boardroom emails time-stamped months before her first visit to Maple Hollow. Her hands shook as she realized someone had engineered her heartbreak as a weapon. She had fallen in love inside someone else's revenge plot. The board meeting was set for a Friday morning in the city. 3 hours from Maple Hollow, 3 hours from Daniel, 3 hours from the life Claire had quietly begun to want more than the one she'd inherited. Renee struck first. She leaked photos. Claire in Daniel's workshop, Claire holding Lily's hand at the town fair, Claire laughing in a doorway in the rain to the board, framing it as a CEO compromised by personal entanglement, unfit to make objective decisions about a multi-million-dollar development. Dramatic pause. She's not thinking about shareholders, Renee told the board, voice like ice. She's thinking about a carpenter's daughter. But then something happened that changed everything. Claire didn't deny it. You're right, she told the boardroom, standing tall in her navy blazer, voice steady despite the storm inside her. I care about that town. I care about that family. And I just learned this entire project was never about revenue. It was revenge, engineered by someone in this very room to protect a decades-old grudge against my father's company. Gasps rippled through the room. Renee's composure cracked for the first time in 15 years. Back in Maple Hollow, Daniel stood outside his workshop holding that same envelope from the hook. The deed, now revealed to be part of a legal maneuver Claire had filed weeks earlier, quietly, to protect his home before the scandal ever broke. She'd been saving him before she even told him the truth. But Daniel didn't know if Claire would survive the boardroom fight. He didn't know if she'd lose everything. Her company, her reputation, her family legacy, because of a town and a man she'd known for barely 2 months. He stood in the rain outside his house, phone in hand, waiting for a call that hadn't come in 6 hours. Dramatic pause. Nobody in Maple Hollow knew if Claire Whitmore was coming back at all. The car pulled into Maple Hollow just after sunset, headlights cutting gold through the mist. The same black car from the opening scene, the one that had idled outside Daniel's house weeks earlier, watching, deciding, hoping this time it didn't idle. It stopped. Claire stepped out, exhausted but standing straighter than Daniel had ever seen her. I won, she said simply. Rennie's out. The board froze the Maple Hollow project permanently. This town isn't going anywhere. Warm tone. Daniel felt something in his chest unclench for the first time in months. And you? I'm still CEO, Claire said, a small smile breaking through. But I'm restructuring the company around towns like this one instead of against them. Starting here. She held up a folder. That deed on your kitchen table, it's fully yours now. No debt, no conditions. I made sure of that before the scandal even broke. Can you imagine what it feels like to watch someone choose you publicly at the cost of everything they built? Lily came running from the porch, crayon-stained fingers reaching for Claire's hand like she'd done it 100 times before. Are you staying? She asked. The question every adult in the scene was too afraid to ask out loud. Claire looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at the workshop light glowing warm behind them, the same golden light from the very first evening she'd walked through his door. If they'll have me, Claire said softly, I'd like to stay. Dramatic pause. The envelope from the beginning of this story didn't just save a house. It became the first page of a new one, A father, a daughter, and a woman who chose a small town over an empire and found something worth more than either. And somewhere in Maple Hollow tonight, a porch light is still on, waiting for no one to leave again. Warm's tone, some doors, once you're brave enough to open them, never close the same way again.